Hi, my name is Tolu Akimbami. I am a proud mom and grandmother, an author of books, all available on Amazon. I am a Jesus lover, ministering to women and men in different nations of the world through the online platform called the Watchers Prayer Ministry. My passion is to lead you in praying those prayers that you have always wanted to pray but did not know how to. Through the help of the Holy Spirit, I bridge this gap by crafting prayers just for you. My second passion is to bring you in touch with real people who have real testimonies of God's faithfulness to answer us when we call through this platform, Conversations with Pastor T. Can you do these three things? 1, share this video. If you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. And 3, you can receive weekly prayers every weekend in your inbox by subscribing through the link below. Welcome to Conversation with Pastor T. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I hope you can hear me. Please indicate if you can hear me. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to everyone joining live on Facebook and joining live on YouTube. Please indicate if you can hear me. I just want to be sure. I changed a few things in my settings today, so I need to be sure that I am coming through and that you can hear me. Thank you. How are you doing? How has your week been? Oh, awesome. Thank you, Mary. Thank you so much. So, yes, it's good to be here back again. It's good to join up and have the conversations that we have started talking about parenting. I'm so glad. So, if this is your first time, remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel and please give it a thumbs up. Great. We're going to have an amazing conversation today. I'm really looking forward to the conversations I'm going to have. As we go on, I would invite you, if you want to come, to contribute to this conversation. I'll send in the link and you can come into the studio and then we can have a talk, even if you don't want to show your face. Good afternoon, Olabimpe. I hope you've all had a great week. I've had an amazing week. It's been a busy week, but an amazing week. I think my highlight for the week was at the start of the week, the weather forecast was that we're going to have a snowstorm. And so a lot of teachers, caregivers were very excited because we thought that there'll be school bus cancellations and that would mean we'd have a snow day and that means we would be at home. So yes, it did snow, but no, we didn't have a snow day. So for some of us, it was disappointing. For some others, well, it is what it is. So all the same, it's good to have you here. Welcome, welcome. So today's topic, by the way, I hope this looks better than my usual black and white background. Today's topic is interesting in the sense that I have so much to talk about it. And next week and the week after, we have some guests coming in as well. So I know they're also going to have great conversations in this space. But this week, I think it was yesterday or day before yesterday, I was reading my Bible and I came across a story that many of us are probably familiar with. If you're a Christian, you should know the story. And I'm going to read it and tell you what actually dropped in my spirit when I read it we all know this story, most of us do, but it came to me in a different way. Let me read. This is the story of John the Baptist and what King Herald did to him. So I'm reading from Mark chapter 6 and from verse 14. It says, "Now King Herod heard of him," that is Jesus actually, "for his name had become well known. And he said, John the Baptist is risen from the dead, and therefore these powers are at work in him. Others said it is Elijah, and others said it's the prophet or like one of the prophets." Verse 16 says, but then King Herod said, "This is John, whom I beheaded. He has been raised from the dead." For Herod himself had sent and laid hold of John and bound him in prison for the sake of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, for he had married her, because John had said to Herod, "It is not lawful for you to have your brother's wife." That's verse 18. Therefore, verse 19 says, Herodias held against him. Let me move on. Now, verse 21 says, "An opportune day came when Herod had his birthday, and then Herodias' wife, Herodias' daughter rather, came and danced. She danced so well, she pleased Herod. And then Herod now called her and said, 'Ask me whatever you want. I'll give it to you. Even if you ask for half of your kingdom,'" I'm paraphrasing. Now, what does the daughter do? The daughter goes to meet her mom. So she went out and said to her mother, "What shall I ask?" And she said, as the mother said to the daughter, "The head of John the Baptist." So she went back to King Herod, asked for it, and that is how John the Baptist got, beheaded. And that really touched me in an interesting way. I'm looking for my notes. Yes, in an interesting way, because I asked myself this question. I said, this is some kind of power of influence, and I want us to look at the background again to this story. So Herodias was the married woman. She is a married woman, right? She has a daughter. We do not know if she has more than a daughter, but she's married. She has a daughter. She was adulterous in that she obviously was in a relationship, not with a friend, not with somebody far away, but with her husband's brother. So she was in that relationship. Then she progressed from that and married the king, King Herod. But her daughter was still with her. So I asked myself the question that, okay, how did the daughter take this scenario? Did she have a choice? Was this a case of mother has been building daughter up also, having those conversations? Good evening, Sister Moji. Having conversations with her daughter. And so when she left to go to King Herod, it was a case of, let's just abandon your dad and let's go and meet the king. Our life is better now. We're going to see life is going to be better for us. Because that power of influence was so strong that when she danced for the king's head scattered and said, "Just ask me anything, I'll give you even half of my kingdom." That's a lot to promise. Now, beyond that is when she went to meet her mom, and her mom said, "Ask for the head of John the Baptist." The girl didn't shake. She didn't feel like, "Oh my God, how can I ask for that?" It showed that she was in agreement. So I asked myself, what kind of relationship do they have? And that is kind of like this the platform on which I want to have today's conversation. So before I go on, I want you to just type in there, what kind of relationship do you think they had? Do you think they had a relationship where mother was manipulating the daughter? Do you think they had like what a loving relationship, an understanding relationship? What do you think that kind of relationship was like? Let me see your comments. Let me see your comments. What sort of relationship? I want to see comments. Okay, thank you. Someone says fear. Fear. That's a good one. That's a good one. Okay. Bola says manipulating. Okay. So I like that. I like that fear part because maybe knowing what her mother is capable of, maybe mom has been so strong. Yes, control. Control. There's this, yes, that's a good one. There's this strong control that mom has over her child, that the child just knows, look, I cannot make this decision on my own. Okay, and it can go both ways. It can be with a dad and a son, it can be a mom and a son, and we see that happen. But I don't want to run in there, otherwise I'll be going out of my focus for today. Today I want to talk about you the parent, being aware of what is called the self. Yes, Mary says authoritative, right? Being aware of what is called the self. Who are you? Do you really know yourself? Do you are when you understand who you are, when you are self-aware of who you are, you would realize that when you're self-aware of who you are, you realize that is the person that you are is the person that is raising the children that you have. Whether your children are adults or they are much younger, because we still have a measure of influence on our children at different ages and stages. But the first thing is to be self aware. Do I know who I am? Because you can only give what you have. You cannot give what you don't have. And if what you have is not good, that's what you'll be giving out. So let's look at this. Who is the self? There's something called the self. Who is the self? So the self is the sum of your experiences, of your relationships, of your genetics, of your mind, your thoughts, your spirituality, your body language, your body expressions, your past experiences, your present experiences, the way you are in the now. Okay, all of these combine to make up what is called the self. And if you are not aware of this person, this persona, this self, conscious of this self, you may be giving less than your best to these human beings that God has placed in our lives to care for. Whether it's caring for your biological children or caring for youth and children that are in your vicinity, in your circle of influence. So you need to be aware of yourself, because that self is going to influence your impact, your responsibility as a parent, whether it's, like I said, whether it's foster parent or biological parent or any form of parenting in whatever capacity, people who come to your home, people you have to parent in one way or the other. We are responsible for them. It's our responsibility to uncover all the prejudices we might have, all the pain, all the biases, all the barriers, all the impediments that could impact our raising healthy children. Because it's very easy to say, oh, do this and do that. But if you are not aware of who you are, you will not even know that you have fallen short in certain areas. So remember that you're a mentor. You're a mentor to your children. You're a role model. You are an advocate. You have the awesome power of developing and raising awesome, beautiful children only if you're aware of yourself. So some years ago, I did this exercise. Yeah, let me see. I'm looking at other comments people are writing here. Some years ago, I did this exercise that really, really changed a lot for me when it created strong awareness. And that is it was an exercise that helps me go back to my history, like back to my roots. And if you have a pen and paper, I want you to write it down and start with that. So you're going to, let me tell you how it goes. So first of all, you reflect on your preschool years, if you can remember your preschool years, okay? Now, or at least your elementary years. We should all, in one way or the other, be able to reflect on our elementary years. Now, when you close your eyes and you remember your elementary years, try to remember, how did you feel in your elementary years? What does that mean? There are things that may be embedded in you that you have covered over the years and you're not aware. But because you are not aware does not mean it is not showing up. Remember, the Bible says, out of the abundance of the heart you will speak, and out of that abundance flows the issues of life. So how did you feel? When I did my exercise, I'm a 60s child. And in the 60s, we had a civil war in Nigeria. I discovered that as a 60s child living in Lagos, Nigeria, there was tension. There was this thing of, when you hear the aircraft going past, your reaction was to lie flat on the ground, because there could be bombers, right? So you lay flat on the ground. When you are in the classroom and you hear the aircraft going over, you have to stand up, go under your table, and cover yourself with a chair as a protection. Okay, imagine children being raised like that. Imagine that. Then our home was a mini camp. You know, I have some sisters right currently on this live, and I don't know if any of them can remember that or testify to that. Who they should. Our home was like a camp. And what does that mean? It meant that people who escaped from the battlefield were received in our home, because I think where we live was like a kind of gateway, so people could get there early. So that meant we were interacting with children who were coming from a war-torn region, and they were holding conversations about things we did not see. So all of that created some level of anxiety, right? Now, your situation may not be as extreme as mine, but unless you sit down and ask yourself those questions and be in contact with your feelings, you might discover that there are certain behaviors that you are carrying out on your children, born out of those experiences you had from as far back as when you were in primary school. Now, remember I said that the self is a sum of your experiences. The self is a sum of your trauma. Yourself is a sum of the good things that happen to you as well. Now, when you reflect on yourself, reflect on your home, reflect. In those days, you think about things like, okay, what was the home environment like? What was my home? Now, was I living in fear? How was I nurtured? How were you nurtured? Because where did you come from? Because where you come from greatly impacts and influences how you are likely to react to your children, unless you are self-aware and then you begin to do certain things about it in order to bring about change. So, how was it for you growing up? How was school? Now, when I remember school, I remember great things about school. But do you know something I remember about school? And I really didn't want that to happen with my children. Sometimes I felt like school was partial. They may not have been partial, but as a child, I felt it was partial. And what do I mean? So there's going to be a program on the stage. It always seemed like it was the same kids that got selected. Hello? So it created that thing in my mind, like, you are not good enough to be a child that'll be on the stage. when it's time to present. They just always seem to present. It coincidentally always seem to be the children of renowned parents. I don't know if it's me, I don't know, but that was the way I just felt, right? So when I remember those times, like in school, I mustn't, it was all totally not good. Of course, there were many good parts about it, but I'm trying to remember the things that may have impacted me in a kind of negative way so that I can be more careful about the way I react with my children. So I remember when my uh my youngest son went to the primary school he went to. His principal had a principle. His Everybody must be on stage. He didn't care if all you did was just raise up your hand. Every child must be on stage. And I thought, okay, you dialed my number. I like that. So no child, and because he saw the stage as education, because a child builds confidence. That's what I want for my children. So you look at your your environment, look at your peers, look at your friends. Where did you live? How did you relate with people within your neighborhood? Were you allowed? I don't know about you guys, but it was a no for us growing up. You don't just get up and say, I'm going to my friend's house. It's not done. When you come back, you will have some nice, let me not say it out. You know what I mean? Not allowed to just get up and go. So if you do that, of course we did, but if you do that, you know what time your parents should be back from work, so you better be back before they come back. Reflect on those things. For some people, it's not so much all, it's not just fun. Some people had traumatic experiences growing up. Are there things that happened when you were growing up but you still don't know what happened? You still don't understand. I hear of things that happened to children when they were young, and I ask, did anybody explain this to you? The answer is always no. For example, a child is very young and loses a parent. How come nobody sits that child down to explain to the child, this is what happened to mom, this is what happened to dad, and walk with the child in the grief process? They don't tell the child. The child just discovers, I can't find my mom, I can't find my dad, I can't find a brother or a sister. So these things make you into the self, your experiences, your university, so your emotions. Many of these things impact on your emotions. If you are not a solid emotional, you don't have strong emotions, how do you want to raise children who are emotionally strong? So when you discover that, oh, I had this experience, I had this shortfall, then you know that there's a gap. How do I restore? What can be restored? What do I need to do? Yes, what do I need to do so that my children do not have secondary trauma? Meaning, the trauma that I had, I'm now putting it on them. And they don't know, they didn't experience it, but because I haven't healed from my trauma. For some of us, it's not even when we're growing up, it may be now. It may be the experiences that we are having at home with our spouses, with work, with business. And because of the daily experiences, we're not as healthy to raise these treasures in a way that will make them wholesome as well. Some of us, because we don't have someone to talk to, you start talking to your children about your relationship with your spouse. It's not okay. It's not okay because your child, it doesn't have the emotional capacity to process those thoughts in the way you think. It should not be done. And the reason you're doing that is because you have not been healed. You need healing. You need to check yourself and become whole. So, whereas you might be able to give your child a great education, whereas you might be able to raise your child to be a financial expert, is your child mentally healthy? And is your child's mental health um, supported by a mentally healthy parent? Let me stop here. If you want to join this conversation, I'm going to put the link um, in the chat room right now. So you can come into the studio. If you don't want to show your face, it's fine. All right. You can come into the studio, and I want to hear your own comments on this topic about wholesomeness. I've sent it in. So I want to see some of us coming here. While we're waiting for people to come in, I want to remind us that we have some great resources, books that you should purchase. All right. If you haven't purchased one, purchase now and purchase for your friends too. So we have Let Us Break Bread Together. This is your great companion for those who break bread. And if you don't, you should. Then we have Hidden Riches. Hidden Riches is a go-to book to pray for your husband, to pray for your sons, to pray for even girls. Look, the scripture is a scripture, applies any which way. And then we have one of my favorite, Father, I Need Your Help. No matter the circumstance, the prayers there apply in all circumstances, in all situations. All books are available on Amazon, which you can purchase from Amazon. And also, you can also get it from books at pastorT.com. Books at pastorT.com. Right. So I'm waiting to hear somebody come in and let's have this conversation. Don't leave Pastor T to be the only one holding all the conversations. Glory to God. Let me see. Somebody sent in a comment here. Let me see what she says. This is a now word. She says, this morning I was asking God for mercy for anything I might have done wrong in raising the children he has blessed me with, and also prayed for wisdom to look after them. I love that. I love that. You know something? We cannot, a difference. My children are adults. All my kids are adults. But being adult doesn't mean that you still don't parent them, because they reach out to you for counsel. They reach out to you to ask questions about their marriage, and sometimes you're like, should I say anything? I don't want to be in trouble. You know, you have to watch it. So we are constantly, we don't want to use our own personal experiences to judge. Do you understand? Let me look for an example. Maybe you know that maybe you've seen cases where being a stay-at-home mom has backfired. Does that mean that this child's own will backfire? The answer is no. I've also seen fantastic cases where, as stay-at-home mom, not only did they raise healthy children, the mom eventually went on to have she has today a multi-million-dollar business supported by her husband, because she agreed to stay at home the first few years raising their children. So she's doing very well. I've seen a number of examples. The other day, I was reading on Instagram. So some of us might be familiar with an actor called Richard Mofe Damijo RMD. And I don't know if it was her birthday or their wedding anniversary, but he had passed a comment about his wife choosing not to pursue her dream and instead stay back to look after the family and after the children. Oh my God. Was there a backlash? Was there a backlash? So for you to shine, because he's a well-known actor, for you to shine, you think it's okay that your wife did not shine. For you to shine, you think it's okay that she should stay back at home. And there was a backlash. And my take was this: she consciously chose to do that. And luckily, RMD came back and corrected it. He said, my wife is a successful corporate person. She chose the corporate world instead of show business. That's just a difference. She's still excelling in the corporate world. So people basically should just mind their business. Okay, so we would not therefore use our own experiences to judge a situation. I'm saying is coming back to what was said, that asking God for the wisdom at different stages in the lives of our children, as young ones, teenagers, and adults, being aware of self, not using our own experiences to determine how the future will be. Another example I have, I'm still waiting for someone to join me on this conversation, or I'll start calling you guys to join me. I've posted the link for you to join me in the studio. I remember when I was getting married, quite a number of my mom's friends, in good faith, they were giving me counsel about my mother-in-law, about, don't say this to your mother-in-law, don't do this with your mother-in-law. And honestly, I was entering marriage with that fear of mother-in-law. And of course, that's something that we don't realize. When you are giving your child all that counsel, who is getting married, she would tell her to be husband. So, of course, I was hearing all these things, and I was telling my to be husband and see what they are saying. And he told me one thing. He said, why don't you give my mother the opportunity to be someone, be herself, experience her first before you jump into conclusion that all mother-in-laws are like that. And honestly, I'm so glad that happened, because she was an absolutely amazing woman. God bless her. She's in heaven, and I'm so thankful that I did not follow through on the way I was told to relate with my mother-in-law. But it was said because of their personal experiences. It was said because they are not aware of the self. Yeah? You want to join me? You people want me to continue to talk with my own mouth. Okay, I continue to talk. Right. So we're still talking about being aware of the self. So what if I am now aware that I have these challenges? The next question should be, what do I need to do? How do I become wholesome? What can I do about it? For some of us, we might seek therapy. For some of us, we might do as she has done, which is to pray and say, Lord, help me, show me what to do, give me the wisdom. Okay. For some of us, it could be you need to go and get like knowledge that would help you better raise this child. But I want to say one thing: in everything you do, I know that many times our friends are the go-to people. Get counsel from authentic people. Get counsel from people who know. Get counsel from people who that is their strong area. Don't make an assumption that, oh, my friend will give me the right counsel on this thing, because your friend is also talking from the self. All right. So moving on from that, let's look at, now you understand that the self is the one that is going to raise these beautiful children. The self is the one that's going to be available. I want to talk about stress. Stress. Because particularly for women and men, there's a lot of stress. Whether you are working, whether you are a stay-at-home person, it is stressful. Raising a family is stressful. So what are you doing to nurture yourself? What are you doing to look after yourself? You can't afford to just do things anyhow, stress until you're burnt out. Because when you stress until you're burnt out, you have nothing to offer. You can't give these children the love and the care that they need because you are burnt out. There's nothing to give again. So if you are in a situation that is stressful, you need to have a rethink that do I need to really remain in this stressful situation, particularly if it's going to impact my children negatively? Decisions, value of decisions. For some of us, it is in the marriage. There's so much stress in the marriage. And it's so funny that we remain in that system and we say we're here because of the marriage. And please, anybody that knows me knows I'm not an advocate for divorce. I'm just putting it out there. I'm not pushing anybody. But I'm saying, when you're aware of the self, and you're aware of the burnout, and you're aware of how your environment is impacting your relationship with your children, you have to make decisions. Can you remain in that same environment and decide, I will rise above whatever stressful situation I may find myself, because these children must experience something healthy from me? One of my favorite people to listen to is a guy called Burchard. And something he said has remained with me for some years now, which is, every time you present yourself, meaning every time you know you're going to be in contact with people like I am with you right now, how do you want to be perceived? So now look at me. My hair is red. How do I want to be perceived? Somebody might look at me and think, why is she wearing a red wig? She's not a born again pastor. Well, that's your choice. That is how I want to be seen. Not being a born again person, please. No. This is me. Okay, this is who I am. All right. Now that's on the exterior. This is how I want to look. All right. Now I want you to have a particular impression of me. So I'm conscious when I speak to you, when I speak to my audience, I am speaking with consciousness of what I am saying. I try. So what I'm communicating to you, you should be able to get something from what I'm saying that would help you. Whether I'm talking to you, I'm talking to my children, I'm talking to my spouse, if you're talking to your spouse, you should have that consciousness. When I open my mouth, how do I want my children to perceive me? When I wake up in the morning, how do I want them to perceive me? When I'm talking to them on the phone, how do I want them to perceive me? Are you aware of yourself? Are you conscious of yourself? And my dear friends, that's kind of like where I want to drop my talk today, about being intentional about your parenting and being aware of yourself and preparing yourself. Even if your kids are already adults, you can still work on yourself. You can still rebirth yourself. You can still decide, I want to change. You can still decide that, you know what, I want to lose weight. I can lose weight. I can go back to school. I can rebrand myself. Because you do not know if in the process of rebranding yourself, you are sending a message to that child, that son, that daughter, whether you're biological or non-biological, you will be sending a message to them. I went back to school in my 50s. There's no big deal. You can go back to school in your 60s, in your 40s, in your 80s. You can go back to school. You can decide, I can do all things. So this over the weekend, my old girls in North America were told to write down fun facts about ourselves and about where we live. I thought, okay, let me write about my ex-mayor. I did not know that woman turned 100 last year, 100 years old, and she is the chancellor of a college, current chancellor of a college. She'll be 101 this month. I met her when she was 96. She came to a business meeting. She gave a proper speech. She shook our hands, strong, bent over but strong. I thought to myself, that renewed my mind about age. Just changed my mind about age. All right? Be a role model to your children. Prepare yourself. Let them look at you and say, I can model after my parent. I can be like my parent. See what my parent did. Colonel Sanders, after all, he's a business didn't start until he was what, 62 or 63. Kentucky Fried Chicken. Be a role model. Prepare yourself to be the best parent you can be. Spiritually, if you do not have it, get it. If you do not know it, get it. But you cannot do those things until you are self-aware. Do the exercise. Go through your journey of life and ask yourself, who am I? What do my children see when they see me? In fact, ask them, what do you see when you see me? And begin to take some solid steps towards change. Thank you for listening. But I'm still open to having some great people join me on today's conversation. Who is joining me today? Who is going to be the brave person? And I'm sending in the link again. Don't worry, your face will not show. I just want to hear your comments on this on this topic. I want to hear your comments. I just give a few more minutes and then we can call it a day. All right. I hope you guys have been blessed and ministered to. Our guest next week will be here by the grace of God to talk to us still about intentional parenting. She has a book that she's written, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what she has to say to us. And over time, I'll continue to talk to us about the self until we're done with this series on intentional parenting. Until then, good to see you. Let me do a shout out to all those I can see. Shout out to Mary, to Olabekwe, to Muji, to Go for Eternity, I think it says, to Bola, to Mary, the Christian Communicator. Hey, somebody joined us. Olabekwe joined us. Yay. All right, let me bring you in. Hi, Olabekwe. Thank you for joining.
Yeah. First of all, I was curious to know how this works. So is that Mabel that made me join?
Why can't I hear you? I know you're talking.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
You're not muted. Why can't I hear you?
I'm speaking. I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
But can you hear me? Can you hear me?
You.
Can
you hear me?
I can.
Let me take you out first again. Okay.
Can you hear me now? Yes, I'm using AirPods. Maybe I should
remove it first and try. Let's try without the earpiece. Sometimes the earpiece gets in the way.
I'll remove them.
So I'm so happy that Olabekwe was bold enough to join this conversation. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. Okay.
Do you hear me now?
Let me try one more time. Oh, Miss Hawa, good to see you. Eva Marie, you can hear her. Oh, I couldn't hear her. Wow. How come I couldn't hear? Let me see. Okay, she's off for a few minutes. Fumilora says, I have been blessed. I'm glad you've been blessed. Okay, wait a few more minutes, and if she comes in, we would have this conversation. Maybe I'm missing something with the set. We can hear her. Oh, okay. Pastor Wanda, good to see you. I wonder what happened that I couldn't hear. Okay, we'll try it again next time. As long as you can hear her, I guess that is good enough. Let me let that be. Let me let you guys go. Thank you so much for being on board today. We'll try again next week by the grace of God. Have a great weekend, everybody. God bless you.